Thank you for watching Scary Bear Attacks. If you like this episode, please remember to hit the like button and leave a comment or two, then subscribe and click on the bell to receive notifications of whenever we release new videos. Also, please remember to share them to your social media. Welcome back to Scary Bear Attacks. Today's episode whisks us away to another waterfall, but this time it isn't Liard Hot Spring, though it has similar foreboding undertones. We are going to the Cherokee National Forest, which covers roughly 1,000 square miles in eastern Tennessee, about 22 miles east of a town called Cleveland. In the Chilhowee Recreation area, there's a beautiful tumbling waterfall called Benton Falls that draws visitors the 1.5 miles up its steep trail. Its water cascades down a formation of rock that look eerily like stairs, almost as if they were designed by a craftsman. In this area, in the last few weeks, 42 bear sightings have been documented. The state of Tennessee is its own little patch of wild in the middle of a nation of modern. In the western part of the state, the Mississippi River Valley slopes up toward the Cumberland Plateau, which breaks up into the Smoky Mountain Foothills to the east. There are at least 50 different large tree species in this state, and they include maple, hickory, ash, oak, and pine trees. The smaller trees here include Serviceberry, Paw Paw, Alder, and several species of Sumac. The list of berry bushes is too long to list here. The animals here include elk, whitetail deer, and wild hogs. The predominant predators of this area include fox, coyotes, bobcats, cougars, and black bears. On Thursday, April 13, 2006, at around 4 p.m., 45-year-old mother Susan Chenkus was enjoying a planned trip to the above-indicated location as a sidetrack from visiting her son, Christopher, who attended Lee University in Cleveland. Susan was an alumni from Lee University, and she immensely enjoyed camping, hiking, and being in the woods nearby. The university and the area around it was a home to many fond memories for her. She never once saw a bear while she was there. Susan's 37-year-old husband, Robert Petrasek, had to work, so he stayed behind and didn't go on the trip with his family. She brought her children, 6-year-old Elora Petrasek and her 2-year-old brother, Lucas Chenkus, to Lake McCamey near Benton Waterfall for relaxing family time together. A few weeks before departing for this trip, Elora told her mother that she may go to heaven before her mother. Susan thought of this as an imaginative thought from an energetic child's mind. Susan told Elora that she was sure she would live many more years than her mommy, but we never know when it is our time to go to heaven, and that angels would be with her. Every night Susan snuggled her little girl and prayed before tucking her in. Elora's name means God is my light. She loved to wear skirts and dresses, especially the pink ones. She loved nature and animals, especially butterflies, and even got upset if her mom tried to swat flies. She often pretended to be a veterinarian, motivated by the thought of caring for and saving injured animals. As they played in the lake, Susan regaled the children with descriptions of Benton Waterfall, a short hike up the trail. She described its beauty, and Elora begged to see it. Susan agreed, and Elora disappeared, dashing along the trail, eager to see the waterfall. They expected to be surrounded by the embracing greenery and lulled by the sounds of the waterfall, but what they didn't count on was that in nature there are many unexpected scenarios which are denuded of sentimentality and mercy. Along the trail there were several children playing alongside Susan's children, as it is an easy location to bring smaller children to. One of the visiting families was walking down the trail and away from the pond when a giant black bear suddenly appeared from the brush along the trail. They backed slowly down the trail and sounded the alarm of the bear's presence to the rest of the people there. Susan glanced up the hill and could see the bear around 100 feet away. She yelled out to her kids to come to her as it was time to go. As she gathered her children, the 350 to 400-pound black bear quickly ran through the brush to their location. It had hidden back in the bushes along the trail and paralleled the trail to appear alongside the family in an ambush of its prey. A few of the adults present recognized the danger the bear posed to the group and began yelling and shouting in an attempt to drive the bear off. As the bear approached the group, children and adults began to panic and run in every direction like a covey of quail flushed from brush. As 2-year-old Lucas was a little less scared than the rest, he made an easy target for the massive black bear. It quickly scaled a fence and opened its jaws and bit onto his head, driving its canine teeth through his skull. Susan immediately grabbed her son and began pulling Lucas to get him away from the bear. The others were throwing stones and hitting the bear with sticks to drive it off, but it was focused on Susan and Lucas. After wresting her son from the bear's jaws, she stared at the bear, silently praying that it would leave. As soon as she was convinced it would back down, she turned around to retreat safely with her children. The bear took the opportunity to attack her. It bit onto the back of her neck, puncturing it several times with its teeth and claws as it pulled her to the ground. Susan yelled to the bystanders to save her children. Overwhelmed with the terror of the event, Susan could do nothing to resist the power of the giant bear as it chewed on her and dragged her off the trail a few yards. She could hear the bones of her neck crunching under the immense pressure of the apex predator's powerful and dangerous jaws. Susan indicated that she silently prayed at that point, that God would make her unconscious, and she immediately blacked out. In all of the confusion caused by the appearance of the bear, Elora went unnoticed as she fled down the trail and away from her mother. Due to the noise and resistance raised by the people at the pond, the bear dropped Susan from its jaws and disappeared once again into the brush. A member of the family that was initially confronted by the bear used their cell phones to reach out to authorities. They organized a way to get Susan and Lucas out of the area to a trailhead for first responders to begin life-saving measures, and carried the two from the woods. When Susan regained consciousness, she immediately asked if her son and daughter were okay. That is when the first responders realized that Elora was missing. Rescue workers flooded into the site to search for her immediately. Susan and Lucas were transported by helicopter to Erlanger Health System in Chattanooga. As their rescuers were transporting her and her son out, they saw a bear up on the hill above them in a thicket. Danny Stinnett was the chief of the West Polk Fire and Rescue Department and was one of the first responders to arrive at the scene. Chief Stinnett and other first responders found Susan. As others worked on Susan, Stinnett took his .38 caliber pistol and crawled through brush uphill from the attack site. He had only traveled about 100 yards when he came face to face with a huge black bear. The bear was guarding the body of Elora and immediately charged toward the chief. He fired his pistol twice at the charging bear, and it immediately stood up on its hind legs in reaction to the impact and pain of at least one of his bullets, and then quickly disappeared into the brush once again. Stinnett was convinced he hit the bear, and knew that it would continue to seek out more people for food, especially since it was now injured. The rescuers immediately removed their shirts and covered Elora's body with them. One even stood guard over her body to make sure the bear didn't return to carry her remains off. Susan had 8 puncture wounds to her neck, as well as many claw and bite injuries all over her body. The medical staff said her wounds numbered too many to count. She rested in a drug-induced coma for 9 days while undergoing treatment for her wounds. She was in critical condition at the medical center and underwent 7 surgeries to repair damaged tissues. Her left thigh and right arm were severely scarred with huge gouge marks from the bear's teeth. She had to go through physical therapy to learn how to use her left arm again. She also lost 2 major blood vessels in her neck and could only talk in a whisper for a long time. Lucas was in serious but stable condition from the bite wound to his head. The bite piercing his skull healed quickly. Immediately following the attack, the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency brought search dogs out to the attack site. They scoured the area in search of the bear's scent trail for 1 day, but couldn't find one. They next brought out culvert traps as well as snares and baited them with sticky buns and donuts and set up a 1.5-mile radius around the attack site. They knew the bear might attack someone else or flee the area altogether to menace or threaten people again later. Time was of the essence in finding this bear and removing its threat to people. On April 16th, the bear was caught near the attack site. Believed to be the predatory bear, it was put down upon capture and its carcass was sent to the veterinary school at the University of Tennessee. It was found to be a male that weighed a little over 200 pounds, which is slightly larger than average spring weight. It was noted to be in good condition and had a regular amount of fat deposits in its muscles.
It wasn't emaciated or starving. The bear's digestive system was not found to contain human remains or clothing due to too much time having elapsed since the attack. When its claws and paws were analyzed for DNA evidence, this bear was found to have had nothing to do with the death of Elora. On April 17th, a second bear was captured near the perimeter of the trap area in a leg-hold snare. It was transported alive to a holding center for analysis. The FBI analyzed this bear's claws for DNA and found Elora's DNA on its claws. It was immediately euthanized and its carcass underwent a necropsy to search for any aggravating health issues that may be linked to the cause of the attack. This bear was also much nearer the reported weight of the giant black bear who attacked Susan and her family. The officials continued to monitor the area for bear activity until May 1st, but found nothing. Having determined that the bear responsible for Elora's death had been killed, the remaining traps were deactivated and removed. Rangers at the Cherokee National Forest commented that black bears typically avoid human contact or presence, citing that bears detect our presence well before we detect theirs. They note that aggressive behavior in bears can sometimes be caused by disease, parasites, or tumors. There was no source I could find that indicated the final analysis of the attacking bear's condition. Bear researchers postulated that the black bear may have recently emerged from hibernation and was hungry enough to pursue humans. They also thought it was possible that the bear acted in a territorial manner due to the presence of other competing males in its territory. Since the year 2000, there have been 2 fatal bear attacks in Tennessee, both being on female people. There have been 56 documented human fatalities from black bears in the last 100 years. North America is reported to have around 750,000 black bears. Around 1,500 black bears currently live in Cherokee National Forest. An investigation determined the attack to be an unprovoked predatory attack. Officials note that bear attacks are rare, but predatory attacks are the most difficult to predict and avoid. Nearly 2 years later, to the day, Susan returned to the site of her and her son's attack and Elora's death. Forestry workers that accompanied her pointed out the location where they found her bleeding and asked for help. They showed her where Elora's body was found and hoped that confronting her fears surrounding this trauma may be healed, at least in part, by her visit. Lucas had accompanied his mother on this return to the falls and entertained himself by jumping from rock to rock searching for fish. He was oblivious to the prior trauma seemingly, and that pleased Susan to see. Accompanied by her father and her son, the Chenkas stepped off to the side to say a prayer of gratitude and healing together. Upon returning to the church which her father pastored, he called her up to the stage to lead worship. She unsteadily walked her way up and wondered silently how she was going to do this, but she did. Many of the congregation wept as she quietly led them in a chorus of "Great is your faithfulness." The pain of losing her daughter was crippling at times, and when her grief overcame her, she crept into Elora's pink bedroom to weep. She decided to focus her life on living for her daughter and worked hard to rehabilitate herself and live with gratitude and allowing herself time to grieve the loss of her daughter. Robert, Susan's husband, dealt with his grief privately while running the household during her grieving periods. Susan researched how families who experienced grief helped in their healing by serving others. She states that that is the key to healing from wounds like losing a child. This episode was hard to research and even harder to write and compile. The episodes that involved the death or injury of children always seem to hit hardest. After reviewing the details of this episode, I am left with a few questions for you. Do you think this bear attack may have been avoided if someone at the waterfall had been carrying a firearm or bear spray? Why do you think Elora told her mommy that she would be in heaven before her mother? Do you think the bear left Susan to pursue Elora? Did the authorities actually kill the predatory bear, or did they get the wrong one? I will be glad to read your thoughts, so please post them in the comments section below and let's talk about it.
Thank you for watching Scary Bear Attacks. If you've enjoyed this episode, please consider clicking on the like button and clicking on the bell icon. We'll help you know when we post our new episodes. Posting our video links to your social media profiles furthers awareness, and it's fun. We slashed our prices in our merch store, linked below, so check out the bargains there while you shop. As a member of our human community, remember to adventure bravely and be careful out there, especially in bear country.
I want to shout out our Patreons and thank them really quick. Diane Collier, Sandy Nielsen, Justin Land, Stephen Earl Smith, Stephen McLaughlin, AJ Miller, Homa Masters, Ricky Helms, David Atkins, Shoulders, Repeat, Josh Paz, Gerald Purcell, Justin Appropriate, Christy Knapp, Dan Kemp, CCC NC, Alan Laframboise, Regina Gilreath Ballard, Sheldon Lewis, Sheila Baker, Masij Kowalski, Carl Childers, Brandon Watts, Dion Lynch, Debbie Hannanen, HTD4, Life, Biotoxic Beast, Gary Eric, Seal Rose, Victor Senku, Abhishek Bunia. Tracy Green, Young Games 34 _ Nina Allison, Heather Lee, Christian Durant Terrell, Matt Mochi, Connor, Lavin, Stephen Wilkinson, Werner Voss, L. Justin Curry, Susan Holt, Butterfield, Sebastian Kielak, Brandon Wizard Wood, Nicole N., Angel Barnhill, Joey Pinter, Mauro Padano, Bubri, TJ Schools, Katie V. Wright, Gary Highland, Cody Love, Katsy Murphy, Andrews, Matt Bagney, Lindy Dawn, Alejandro Figueroa, Ian Romalor, Darcio Pacifico Rose, H. Lori McKay, Melissa Gottlieb, Megan Trend, Nathan P. Cole, Rodriguez Aurora, April Donovan, Ryan Cernicki, Chris Marler, Wayne Washington, Fluffy Feet, Cheyenne Greg Schaefer, April Donovan, and Drone Adventures. Your support means the world to me.